I mean, he seems unable to do so. It appears to be sort of locked into this place, which is one of the compounds that the Americans bombed in '86.
Yeah. Thank you. This actually takes me to the second reason why I'm not certain that isolation, the policy of isolation, is very effective to have him change his mind, which is this person is living in his own world, in his own realities, and he does not really recognize what's going on around him. It's not that I don't think he's making it up. I think that he lives it. He lives it. He thinks that the country is still under his control, and those people that they are doing these protests are outsiders. And he still believes that there are hallucination bills that have been used to do this. So he is in a state of denial, and he refuses to accept that things have changed. So on the conscious level, he's a different person, he's in his own world, and I think a different approach should be used. Not that we should lift, the isolation should be lifted, but I think I'm not sure it will be very effective, and a different approach should be added to add to the pressure for him to change his mind.
That's Ibrahim Shakir from the Brookings Doha Centre. Thank you very much for now. So much of what we get here at Al Jazeera comes from you out there, pictures, tweets, all kinds of different things. And what have you got, Imran, for us now?
Well, Dave, we've got plenty of new videos coming into us and other websites from Libya. I'll have more details on those, including this disturbing footage which was sent to us directly.
So Web Desk in a little while right now to London. Our European News Centre and Felicity Barr is there. Details of increasingly international calls for sanctions on Libya. What can you tell us?
Yeah, absolutely right, David. I can tell you that it is France so far that is leading those calls. President Nicolas Sarkozy currently proposing that those perpetrating the violence against protesters be banned from travelling to the European Union and for all business ties with Libya to be suspended. Well, Libya's oil and gas exports could also be boycotted. The Italian firm Eni has already halted its operations there, and OPEC says it will act to meet any shortages. Elsewhere, Peru has called for the UN to establish a no-fly zone over Libya to stop Gaddafi from using warplanes against protesters. And earlier, the German foreign minister weighed in and gave this reaction.
If the Libyan leadership continues to use violence against its own people, sanctions will be inevitable. I welcome the fact that more and more countries in the international community are joining this position.
All right, well, take a look at the map that's now appearing in the wall behind me. This reminds us, of course, just how close Libya is to the European Union. We've already seen Libyans fleeing into Malta, while Greece, Turkey and Italy are other likely destinations for those Libyans who are seeking refuge. And we can take you live now to the Italian capital, Rome. Harry Smith is there for us. And Harry, Italy in particular is very concerned about the possible flood of refugees from Libya.
Of course, Italy has seen this before. It had a similar problem when there was a crisis in Tunisia, and they're already trying to prepare the ground for the possibility of Colonel Gaddafi falling. They do say if he falls, this is what might happen rather than when he falls. That's the uncertainty that exists in this part of the world. But as I speak, just across the city here, there is a meeting taking place with interior ministers, not just from Italy, but from other greatly concerned countries. We have France, Spain, Malta, Cyprus and Greece. They're all gathered here to try and work out some sort of coordinated approach to what they should do if and when Colonel Gaddafi falls. They're anticipating something like 200,000, 300,000 Libyans who might want to leave. They won't, of course, all come to Italy, and that's why they want a coordinated approach. You can get some idea of how seriously they're taking it if you listen to the sort of language that the Italian foreign minister was using earlier when he spoke about what little the Italian government know about what's happening in Libya. This is what he had to say.
We have no complete information about the number of people that have died. We believe that the estimates about 1,000 are credible. We will have more information maybe from the international journalists that came in the area of Cyrenaic, in Benghazi area in Tobruk. But as far as I know from our embassy, the province of East Cyrenaic is lost to the control of the government of Tripoli, while in the other areas there are, I would say, riots, there are people shooting. It's a difficult situation, and unfortunately what we want is that the government ceases immediately violences.
Yeah, Harry, so many European leaders and foreign ministers have in the past few days been certainly calling for Gaddafi to stop the violence and asking for him to go. But as you've alluded to, the problem is that nobody knows what will be left behind if and when he does go.
That's exactly why we've had this meeting, why we're having this meeting here in Rome, because nobody knows. It's a very uncertain situation. He will leave a power vacuum in North Africa, and not the only one, and that's why they're so concerned. I mean, if you listen to the language, I'm not sure if you heard exactly the words that the Italian foreign minister used. He's talking about an exodus of biblical proportions, of a tidal wave of refugees heading towards Europe, and this is not just something which affects those 6 countries I've mentioned who have borders onto the Mediterranean. This is something which could affect the whole of Europe, which is why on Thursday we will see after this meeting a meeting of justice ministers and interior ministers from all 27 European Union countries in Brussels. This is something that Europe is very anxious about. They really need to try and get a coordinated approach to deal with a situation which is moving so fast that nobody really knows how it's going to develop.
Harry Smith there with the latest from Rome on that meeting. Thanks so much. Europe very concerned, obviously, about the possible influx of refugees, but the European Commission is also saying that around 10,000 EU citizens will be evacuated from Libya, while Turkey, which has 25,000 citizens in Libya, is currently mounting its biggest evacuation operation in history. Foreign nationals who've already managed to return to their home countries have been speaking of their relief, as Neve Barker reports.
Touching down in Tripoli, a French military plane arrives to evacuate foreign citizens stranded in Libya. Several nations have organised emergency flights.
We're taking every action to get the remaining British nationals in Libya out of harm's way. We're greatly concerned about the loss of life in Libya and their government's failure to protect its own people. Indeed, the behaviour of their government in launching attacks on their own people.
Plane loads of passengers are now returning to cities across the continent. At Frankfurt Airport in Germany, evacuees expressed their relief at being out of Libya. With ordinary commercial flights hit by cancellations, many describe the scene at Tripoli's main airport as desperate.
Today in the airport was an absolute chaos. Many people from North Africa trying to leave and get home, thousands, and that was it.
For many, the island of Malta has become the nearest safe destination for those fleeing the violence. More than 500 Russians are also on their way home, many of them specialists working in the oil and construction industries. They bring with them eyewitness accounts of the turmoil.